Welcome to the Daily Coffee Pro by Map It Forward, friends. Today on the podcast, we're going to take a look at all the exhaustion that we're all feeling after a very challenging 2021. If you had a great 2021, you are exhausted. And if you had a really shitty 2021, you are exhausted. I'm not suggesting that I'm telling you how you should be feeling. That's just the general consensus of the conversations that I'm having with many people around the world. Before we get started, if you are looking for a consultant for 2020, 2022, if you are looking for a consultant for your business, whether you have started a business or not in 2021, but if you're looking for a consultant in 2022, head to the show notes and let me be done with this sponsor message. Because it's clearly not going very well at all. But you know what I mean. Go there, check it out, and get in contact if you need any help. Clearly, I am exhausted from everything that's happened in 2021. And truth be told, this has been one of the most successful years of my life. And while that success has been fantastic, it has come at a cost. And like everybody, I am utterly exhausted. It is December. It is, one of those years where everything went better than expected. I planned, I executed, I worked hard, and everything went great. I worked with incredible clients. I love doing the podcasts. There were things that I decided were working this year and not working this year. And I prioritized rest this year. I started really getting grounded. I moved countries. I did a whole bunch of stuff. Business was great. Personal life got really quiet, which was fantastic for me. It's exactly what I needed after living in the US during the Trump era and all the chaos that comes with that, and spending 2020 in the US with the pandemic and with race riots and with, elections and all of that kind of stuff. And the one thing that I can tell you is from a personal perspective, as well as from the relationships that I have with many of the clients around the world, they're facing 2022 and asking, is this going to get better? Or is this going to get more challenging? And it's a really legitimate question. Now, the reason it's a really legitimate question is because when we do all our consulting work, we're not just looking at what's going to happen in the next month. We're talking about what does the local economy in the country and the city that my clients are in, what is going on there? What is the coffee industry doing locally? What's the global supply chain doing? What are we anticipating over the next 12 to 24 months? And we know, and if you've listened to the most recent few episodes of this podcast, you know that we anticipate that things are going to get more challenging from a business perspective and from an economic perspective. And so, how do you approach the next year? With an attitude that things are going to get better. And check out the next episode of the Daily Coffee Pro, where I'm going to be talking about how professionally and personally myself and clients that we work with are preparing for a 2022 filled with joy. And that's the focus. But for this episode, how do you assess and audit what your position is so that you can really be present in what level of exhaustion you're feeling right now? I don't know about you, but I know that for me, I have a tendency when I'm feeling exhausted to kind of push through. This was the first year that I decided not to do that. It wasn't about ignoring the exhaustion and pushing through. We kind of have this way as entrepreneurs of thinking, if I ignore the exhaustion and I just keep working harder, I'll eventually get more successful. The irony of it is that the more I rested this year, the more successful I got. And it used to piss me off when I would hear people say that on podcasts or on, in books or whatever in the past. But this year was a turning point for me because this was the year that I decided to do less so that I could make room for rest. What I found was that the more I rested, and I rested 2 days a week. I took Saturday and Sunday off pretty much every week this year. And I found that the more I did that, the more able I was to approach every task I did during the week with greater intention. And I got to tell you, it's been a game changer. It's been a game changer because, as I said in previous episodes, it's been my best year yet. But from the other side of things, it really got me paying attention to what level of exhaustion I've been carrying around for years. And so as I get to the end of this year, not only am I feeling the exhaustion of this year, I'm feeling the exhaustion of probably a few decades. And if I could invite you to ask any question when looking at the exhaustion that I think pretty much all of us are feeling right now is, what am I without this? And if you can start to indulge in what the feeling of being free of this exhaustion is by this time next year, that's what the joy is going to be looking like. And we're going to talk about that in the next episode. But just indulging in the idea of being free from the exhaustion of the pandemic and inflation and the media and politics and what's truth these days and what's not truth these days and all of the crazy shit that's going on in the world. How do you turn the dial down long enough to be aware and conscious of how much this has eroded your peace of mind? And so in December, this is a really wonderful time to start planning for your mindset for 2022. And we'll talk more about that in the next episode. But it is really important that you start thinking about what effect this exhaustion has had on you this year and in previous years. Being consciously aware of how that exhaustion not only affects you, but affects the people around you. And is that something that you want to take into 2022? Are you going to need some rest time that's allotted for you alone on a regular basis every day and every week and every month of next year? And is that something that you can start today? I don't know about you, but for me, rest is not something I'm very good at. I've gotten better at it this year, but it now is a currency for me. It is a resource that feeds into all of my life currencies, and I'm now very protective of it. And rest comes in many different ways. For some people, it's sleeping. For other people, it's spending time with friends. And for others, it's sitting on the balcony smoking a joint. Whatever it is for you, figure it out and start prioritizing it in your life, because 2022 is not going to be the end of much of the chaos. So how can you get into a flow in your career or in your business in the coffee industry, given that the coffee industry is going to experience much more chaos next year? How can you quarantine yourself from that chaos, not in a way that you're not a part of the industry, but in a way that your peace of mind and your flow isn't disrupted by the chaos that the coffee industry is going to experience next year and the world is going to experience next year. Just some food for thought. Peace, love, and peanut butter, friends. Have an amazing rest of your day.